Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. We begin with the incredible moves of Mitt Romney. He flips, he flops, and now he flails as the presumed Republican nominee floats like a butterfly, flits like a dragonfly, and stings like a firefly. What? Fireflies don't sting, you say? No need to repeat that. No, indeed, but that's Romney's style, see? Flash this little light over here so maybe you don't see the glaring sirens flashing about his own murky finances. And today in the ultimate battleground of Ohio, it was looky here, guys, the president is a collectivist.
Barack Obama's attempt to denigrate and diminish the achievement of the individual diminishes us all. He tries to divide America, tear America apart. He tries to diminish those who've been successful in one walk of life or another. It's simply wrong.
Remember when Romney used to talk about the president as a nice guy? Well, not anymore. Indeed, a top Romney advisor tells BuzzFeed that very little will be off limits and that the campaign has decided it's time to vet the president. Quote, "This is a guy who admitted to cocaine use, had a sweetheart deal with his house in Chicago, and was associated and worked with Rod Blagojevich. Oh, yes. All this has happened before, in 2008, and all this will happen again. They seem to forget that Mr. Obama has been president for 3.5 years now. The American people know the guy pretty well. But the Romney camp's got to do something, given the growing calls by fellow Republicans for him to release his tax returns, including Governor Rick Perry, former governor of Texas.
I'm a big believer that no matter who you are or what office you're running for, you should be as transparent as you can be with your tax returns and other aspects of your life.
And here I just put Rick Perry out of office, retroactively looking toward the future. A no less venerated conservative publication than the National Review now joining the likes of Bill Kristol, George Will, Ron Paul, and Haley Barbour to argue that Romney's position is untenable. Quote, "In all likelihood, he won't be able to maintain a position that looks secretive and is a departure from campaign conventions. The only question is whether he releases more returns now or later. We're not so sure about that. Romney may just keep flitting, may just keep floating. He may just keep dancing around the thing, much like a certain highly trained Olympic athlete of the equine variety, as a new DNC ad suggests."
When you release yours, will you follow your father's example?
Maybe. I don't know how many years I'll release. I'll take a look at what our documents are. And I'll release multiple years. I don't know how many years, but I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah. Here's wishing for many happy returns from you, Mitt. We've got a bang-up panel in the House. MSNBC contributor Jonathan Capehart and MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter. The two Jonathans on my left and right, but their politics are not indicated by their position. The drumbeat is growing louder for Mitt Romney to release his tax returns. They say it's now or later. But isn't Romney's strategy more like never, not ever at all, Jonathan Capehart?
I was going to say, which Jonathan is getting that question? Look, Mitt Romney, whether he wants to or not, he's making it clear that he doesn't want to. He's going to have to release his tax returns. This is something that has been a convention among presidential candidates since George Romney did it in 1960. Correct me, it was 1967 when he released actual tax returns, which had never been done before, and he released 12 years of tax returns. It's not like this is the first time a wealthy man has run for president, but this is the first time that you've had a wealthy man who steadfastly refuses to allow the American people, who he's hoping will hire him to lead them, refuses to show them how he's made his money, where his money comes from, and just to assure the American people that all his wealth was derived legally.
Right.
And I don't think he will release them. 2 years. That's what John McCain did, and, right. And that's what he said he's going to do. So he'll release 2010 and 2011, and that will be it, and he will stonewall all the rest of it. And there's a very clear reason why. Right. He would release more if there wasn't something to hide.
Right.
So the question is, what is there to hide?
Well, see,
and this is where the speculation
right.
is beginning. And the most informed speculation, and I should note, it is speculation
sure.
by accountants and other people who know a lot about these things, is that the tax return that he most does not want to have come out is from 2009. That would reflect what happened to him in 2008. And remember, a lot of wealthy people and not so wealthy people lost a ton of money in 2008. And when you lose a lot of money and you're living on interest, basically,
right.
you're not getting a paycheck. Mitt Romney doesn't get a paycheck.
Right.
When you lose money, you write that off your taxes. And if you have good enough accountants, you can effectively pay zero taxes. That would be a killer.
Yeah,
if it came out that he paid not $1 in taxes in 2009.
Right. And Jonathan, Capehart, given what Jonathan Arthur just said, that's a killer because the optics are poor. Here you are trying to convince the American people who are already taking a haircut in their economy that you understand them and that you can identify with them empathetically. But if you didn't pay anything, as Jonathan was saying, that's going to be bad optics.
Right. Keep in mind, no one is saying that Mitt Romney has done anything illegal. I want to make that clear.
Sure.
But this is a political problem that he has, and as Jonathan said, an optics problem. If it turns out that he didn't pay any taxes at all in 2009, how does he explain that to the satisfaction of the American people?
We're not going to find that out because he will not release the 2009
Well, look,
tax
he's a good
returns.
businessman.
That ain't going to happen.
Well, look, he's a good businessman. Why not own up to him and say, look, this is not only what Jonathan just said. This is legal. I'm not doing anything immoral, and I'm a businessman, and this is what business people do in American society. Why not own up to it and therefore get the stuff out of the way as opposed to letting all of this speculation go on?
Well, that's what some of the Republicans are urging him to do, is just get the bad news out in July, and then by November, everybody will have forgotten about it. And that might be the most prudent course for him to follow. It doesn't sound like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I've been advocating for him to do, not like he's going to listen to me, is to emulate Hillary Clinton in her pink press conference from the 90s, where she sat down in front of the entire White House press corps and answered for 66 minutes detailed questions about her and then President Clinton's finances. If Mitt Romney were to sit down either in a press conference or with an editorial board or a series of reporters and go through with them his financial dealings and then say, you know, look, this is a perfect example of why our tax code needs to be revamped, reformed. Right. Everything I did was legal, but that doesn't exactly make it the right thing to continue to do.
Sure.
Again, I agree with Jonathan. He's most likely not going to do that.
Well, look, the new poll suggests that 31% of conservatives feel enthusiastic about Romney. Is that number going to cut it, Jonathan?
Well, you know, I think that most people vote in these general elections. So enthusiasm, I think, is kind of overrated as an important factor. The ability to actually bring people to the polls, your so-called get-out-the-vote operation, that's tremendously important. But just the enthusiasm that comes up in polling, look, 130 million Americans voted in 2008. Something close to that will vote this time. People don't vote in midterm elections very often, but they do come out in general elections.
Do you think Obama has the same problem on the flip side? People have been talking about the lack of enthusiasm among African-American voters this time around versus last time. Do you think his own particular issue there will be with enthusiasm? That enthusiasm will it show up?
I don't think so. I think the enthusiasm is still there. I mean, vis-a-vis Mitt Romney, it's still there. I think the thing that we have to look at is the enthusiasm for Mitt Romney, I mean, I'm going to get lost in my own thing here, but is the anger against President Obama, is that what trumps any antipathy there is within the Republican base towards Mitt Romney? And I would argue that when people go to the polls in November, the folks who are going in and clicking the lever for Mitt Romney are doing it more so because they hate President Obama than they love Mitt Romney.
Right before break, let me ask you very briefly, both of you. Is Mitt Romney effectively and successfully turning the narrative away from tax returns to something else, or is he mired?
He's mired right now. He's having a bad month in the same way that, you know, Barack Obama had a bad June. And this happens. These campaigns go up and down. But he's flailing around right now. If he thinks that talking about Rod Blagojevich is going to change the narrative of the campaign, he's mistaken.
Right.
He's mired.
Right.
Completely mired.
All right.
And the Olympic timeout is not going to help him.
All right. That javelin better go somewhere else. Jonathan Capehart, Jonathan Arthur, thank you both.